10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this April 15th, 2019 evening. And Chris, you are in sunny Puerto Rico. What are you doing down there?
I'm escaping non-sunny Maine.
Yeah, what's going on? I thought you guys are supposed to be in spring now. I know we're 85 down here all the time, so I'm not worried about that. But what's going on with Maine? You having some psychotic weather?
No, we took a family vacation. We didn't know my kids were. I didn't know that they had an April vacation because they're homeschooled. So when you homeschooled, you just wing it. Whenever you want your vacation, you can plan it. So I didn't know till late in the game that they were. They had an April vacation, so we decided kind of like last minute, maybe 5 weeks ago, to look into taking a family vacation. And of course, I just off like a whim. How about Puerto Rico? And here we are in Puerto Rico.
Well, if we have any technical difficulties, people will understand that in Puerto Rico, the Wi-Fi is not that great. Remember when we went to Prague that time?
Yes.
It was like we were in the 1945, like right after World War II.
We did the radio from my iPad. I did it one time in Prague. The only reception I had was a restaurant that was closed, and I was under a dining room table to do it. I'm dead serious.
I believe you. Yeah, Prague was crazy when I went there. They're really archaic. Although I think that the internet was worse in Brazil, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can't remember. Was it bad in Brazil? Was it bad in Brazil?
I think so. I'm trying to remember. I know there was a lot of dead zone areas, but you probably were in a better hotel than I was when I went to Brazil. That's when it was in when they used to have the Arnold Brazil in Rio de Janeiro.
Where do they have it now? I didn't know they moved it from Rio.
Well, they had originally moved it to São Paulo. I don't know this past weekend, which we're going to talk about, obviously, in the big Juan Morel win. We're going to. I don't know where this one was. That's tells you how on top of things I was. I thought it was in São Paulo. No,
I don't know.
Whenever it's funny, whenever you go to, for people who don't know, when you go to Brazil, no one speaks English there, which is a complete difference. Like you can go to like Dubai and everyone speaks English there. You can go to like Spain and people speak English there. Germany, everyone speaks English.
Australia.
Australia is they speak English. That's their language, Chris. Even India, they all speak English. That's they all learn English too. But Brazil, no one speaks English. You cannot get. God bless his soul and God rest his soul. Carlos Godoy, our good friend down there in Brazil, he used to always be my. He's no longer with us, but he used to always be our guide down there, our translator. He would be with me the whole time. I couldn't function down there otherwise.
No, it's nice. It's nice to go to a country that's either, I don't know, I would say proud enough to say, tough. We're going to speak what we like.
Well, yeah, but it's weird. It's just weird. I remember when Rico was down there Rico, who owns the NPC clothing company.
Yes.
He couldn't conduct business in the expo. He couldn't communicate with anyone. He had to he hired someone like in the expo who was right there and just happened to be there, and he heard him talking English, and he's like, "Can you speak English?" He goes, "I'll pay for the weekend if you hang out at my booth." And that's what he did. He paid the guy, and the guy had to stay at the booth the whole time. He's like, I would have had to go home otherwise.
It's funny, huh?
Yeah, it's really funny.
That's my recollection.
Yeah, it was in São Paulo.
Whenever we were around, whenever we were trying to get around town in taxis and
it's terrible.
Place to eat, we'd always have to find someone to help us.
And this is back when I was battling, to cover all these shows, and I was having arguments with these promoters, and I couldn't even understand what the hell they were saying. I couldn't understand anything. Like I said, thank God Carlos Godoy was there back in the day, and he was translating for us. But it was I'm glad that they got the for people who don't know, when Rafael Santoa, who owned and ran the IFBB amateur division over everywhere else aside from the U.S., when him and Jim Mannion split, and now the IFBB Pro League and the NPC kind of are its own unique entity. The IFBB Pro League was the show that they were holding at the Arnold USA and the Arnold Australia, but Rafael Santoa was running that Brazil Arnold with his new Elite Pro League, and I guess it didn't work out too well last year. I don't think people want to see a pro show where the pros are worse than the amateurs. And
that's funny. You know what? Great point. I forgot.
Right?
It was run by Rafael. It's interesting, right? Last year was Rafael and Arnold, and this year it's Manuel Weinberger and Arnold.
Yeah, well, I think they realized that there was no interest. There was no interest in the show.
Whose top 5 would win? NPC and Manion's and Weinberger's top 5 or last year's top 5?
I think the NPC Nationals, the guys would have beat the guys at the Pro League and Rafael's thing. So they got rid of it and they brought back the IFBB Pro League and they made it a small event, but it was I thought it was well run and they had some good names down there, and our good friend Juan Morel emerges victorious over your guy.
Yes.
And if you think about it, Rafael Brandao is Brazilian, and the Brazilians just absolutely love him. He's like the new Eduardo Correa over there. And it was a close show, and I thought maybe there might have been some bias towards the Brazilian in Brazil, but it turns out that Juan emerged victorious. In your estimation, was that the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the right decision. You know how I know it was the right decision? Because people, I can't even tell you how many emails I got, and people would say, watch this verbiage, and this is them psychological. It's my psychoanalysis of people's comments. Mm-hmm. It would say, Rafael looks great. Do you think they'll give it to him? Or they'd say it's close. Do you think they'll give it to Rafael? Or they'd say, I'm at the show. Rafael looks crazy. Juan looks crazy. Do you think they'll give it to Rafael? Every single one had the word give.
Yeah.
In other words, there's this weird subliminal, what they're not even aware of, Juan's better.
Well, it goes back to the whole discussion we had 2 weeks ago at the Indianapolis Pro when we were trying to explain why Steve Kuklo beat, Akim Williams, who looked really great. And it was structure, big structure, takes up more space,
I would definitely say Rafael's structure is better.
Well, I think that Juan's bigger. That's how I saw it.
Well, you know what? I think that I'll tell you this, and it's a testament to I think they would have, quote, given it to Rafael if he could have one more pose that he could win on. In other words, I thought break the show down this way. Because it would have been a good feel-good show.
And I know you didn't watch my prejudging wrap-up, but that's exactly what I did. I broke it down pose by pose.
So before we get to pose by pose, feel-good shows is like Sergio wins his first pro show. That's a feel-good show. Earned it. Mike Francois wins the Arnold Classic on his birthday in his hometown.
Right.
Earned it. Feel-good is Tiger Woods winning the Masters yesterday. After 10 years, right. Feel good would have been a tremendous story. A feel good is Cody Montgomery winning 20 years old. Another feel good or great memory would be Rafael winning the Arnold Brazil as a Brazilian. And I think that a testament to the judging is that I think. A lot of people who were there said, it could go either way, but there was this underlining, but Juan's bigger, and it's well, he's in condition too, so how do you not give it to him, Juan?
Right.
And then it would have been this weird, bias, had Rafael won, but I think they would have I think Rafael needed one more pose to win that show. So I gave Rafael, I think he looks better and more impressive. In the front double, front lat spread, Juan looks better in the side chest. Juan looks better on both back shots. Side tricep, I think, is a toss-up. Maybe I'd go with Rafael. absent thighs, Rafael. Most muscular, Juan. Bigger body, Juan.
Yeah, I
So
went for a side tricep on Juan too on that one. But and you know what the funny thing is, and I'm just going to say this because I think I just believe it. It doesn't. You might not agree with me. I think that if Rafael looked as sharp as he was at the Arnold USA, I think he would have won.
Interesting. Yeah,
I think he wasn't as hard as he was, and I think if he would have been ultra shredded, even though he would have been a lot smaller than Juan, I think you would have seen those hamstrings popping, and I think it would have just blown people away. The conditioning, it would have wowed him. He wouldn't have beat like a Brandon Curry because he was too small. But Juan's big structurally, but he's not massive. Like he doesn't have massive legs. He's got he's got just good enough legs to win, that kind of thing. So I think Rafael, who's got better legs, if he would have been just like peeled to the bone, because Juan was really hard too.
Yes, he was.
And I think that Rafael would have wowed. I think he had more detail to his physique. I just didn't think we saw it like we did at the Arnold. I would have liked to seen those pictures from the Arnold USA compared to Juan's pictures, just for shits and giggles. But I think Juan's a seasoned professional now too. I think, but I think that was a good. That second place was definitely put him into people's minds now as the real deal. Even though you and I already knew he was a real deal, but I think a lot of other people maybe didn't because he didn't really get the placings he should have earlier in the year, and now this is kind of validation.
A month ago, you only competed once,
right? But I'm just saying he was. It feels like it was 10. It feels like it was 10 months ago.
No, I mean he could have placed higher there for sure, but
I had him. You and I had him fourth at the Arnold USA.
Yeah, I think he could have been as high as fourth. I mean, it's there's always I say like, if he had one more pose here, if he had like a
did you think his hamstrings and glutes were as good as they were in the USA and Arnold?
I would say his glutes and hams. Let's see, it's a great question.
I thought that they were
tighter. They were tighter at the Arnold.
Yes.
But he's pretty damn tight here. I mean, he was, really tight.
Right, but it's the detail when because Juan has these huge glutes, which are very impressive, obviously, but he doesn't have good hamstrings. They're kind of like, and it's not that they're not lean enough; they're just kind of shallow.
Yeah.
The reason his leg hangs so well from the side is because he's got big adductors, which is smart. I mean that wins his side poses for him because he's got that great side leg. Rafael could have had, if he was hamstrings, he has much thicker hamstrings and better quads. If he would have been shredded, I mean, I think we would have seen a lot more detail.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at my Instagram. I don't think you can get. I mean, seriously. I mean, he was pretty peeled. I don't know if you can go by contest lighting.
Maybe the pictures just weren't good. I went by the video that I kind of critiqued, and maybe he wasn't flexing his hamstrings. Maybe his body awareness is just not as good as it needs to be.
Yeah.
I didn't see the pop in the detail during the posing round that I think we needed to see from him to beat a Juan. If Juan wasn't there, he would have won the show, obviously. And Akim Williams is the biggest disaster, really. And I can give you the behind the scenes story. The story is that he didn't know he needed a visa to get to Brazil. Now, I understand they're doing away with the visa, right? Didn't you tell me that?
No. In Europe, you're going to need a visa.
No, I thought you said in Brazil you're not going to need a visa anymore. Maybe next year?
No.
Someone told me. I don't know if you did. Someone told me that they're doing away with it. I said, well, that's a good idea because it's ridiculous. But evidently, you still need one now. And so him and Oscar get to the airport. And they're like, you can't leave. You don't have a visa. And they didn't know because I guess the Arnold people booked the flight. After Akim placed second at the Indianapolis, the Arnold people called him and invited him. So they booked the flight. I don't know if they booked his and Oscar's flight, but they didn't tell them they needed a visa. I can't imagine that, but Akim had never gone to Brazil, so he wouldn't know. Maybe they thought, the Arnold people, that they had been there already, because when you get a visa, it's like good for 10 years there. So they couldn't go, so they had to go to luckily in New York City, you can expedite anything in one day. So they had to go to the city. They were probably there all day. They went to some place, they expedited it, they got the visa somehow, and then he left on Friday. So it's a 9-hour flight. He flew 9 hours and then went right to the venue from the airport.
Sounds like a
Oscar might have been oiling him up and pumping him up in the bathroom of the plane for all we know.
Yeah, it's not a successful formula for Akim, just because we know that
he's a water bag. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen people hold water from flights who are peeled and get off a plane and look like they're seriously like 14 weeks out, and it's just goes away in a couple of days.
Yeah. You can't get rid of it that fast.
But that's some people, because some people get dehydrated when they fly. And they look
I do. Yeah, I do. I get really dehydrated. But yeah, Akim obviously is a water bag, and he gets off the plane, and he was probably 10 pounds over what he needed to be, and so he shows up at the show, and he still gets third. That's how good he is, But we didn't see the best Akim Williams. Had we seen the Akim Williams from Indianapolis, might have been game over for everyone.
Yeah. True. He's very dangerous in that type of condition.
I talked to him via text message after the show, and I didn't ask him. I know he's pissed off. I didn't want to even get there, but I said, "What are you doing next?" I said, "You got to keep going, because he wants to go to the Olympia this year."
Yeah,
and he's going to be doing the Spain show, I guess. Which is
Rafael's doing it too.
Oh, there you go. So we'll see. We'll get that rematch after all.
Problem with big guys who hold water is each successive show, they hold more and more water.
Yeah, and they rebound off of it too. When is the Spain show?
2 weeks.
All right, so that's not as bad as having it this coming week,
Well, no, it's because you realize when you fly back that you're even,
worse, right?
And then you only have 12 days to panic.
Yeah, you realize that you're a disaster.
It's funny. The people who hold water, every successive show, they usually hold more water, and people who can't hold their fullness, every successive show, they lose their fullness, regardless of what they eat. Both of them. In other words, the guy holding water can try to fool around with sodium, try to fool around with water, and if he's got water issues, it's like every single time. It's almost like trying to control that water makes it worse. And the guy who has a hard time keeping fullness, he says, "Oh, I went to the show 2 weeks later," and so people critique him and say, "Well, you were flatter at this show," and he says, "Flatter? I ate like crazy in the 2 weeks." Well,
you're almost with those guys. You're better off almost not even letting them work out. Just go home and just fucking sleep all day and eat, right? I mean, because it's not going to even matter at that point. I sometimes think they get into this catabolic state and they can't come out of it.
Yeah.
Just it's probably the same for both people, except but the water bag person, when they're in a catabolic state, they just hold fluid. The person, when they're in a catabolic state who doesn't hold fluid and can't get full, they just lose muscle, right? Exactly. Yeah. And it's all because of high cortisol levels,
Yeah.
Flying is very stressful. I don't care. Look, I mastered flying. At one point, I was flying almost every weekend. I had it down pat, and I had the frequent flying miles. I was in the lounge. I was relaxing. I wasn't getting stressed out. It was like I had the thing down to a science, and I still fucking hold water, and wasn't even competing. I was just going to the cover shows, and I would get out, my ankles would be swollen. I'm like, holy shit, that's kind of weird, because I usually get, and my mouth was dry, so I was dehydrated, but the water was all in the wrong places.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah, some people fly and they
think about it, the pressure. Even though they pressurize the cabins, the pressure is not the same on you. You're up high. Look how thick you're 40,000 feet in the air.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. So Juan unanimously wins this show, which is a nice little feather.
I did hear it was extremely close, even though it was unanimous.
I agree. I think it was close. I had trouble. I broke it down pose by pose.
Yeah,
and
I heard they had trouble, but
yeah. Well, every judge could have thought it was just barely Juan too, and so it looks unanimous.
That's how my gut. Because it goes back to that. You can't. It goes back to your structure, and your lines are going to carry you against a lot of people. In Rafael's case, a lot of people it's going to carry you against.
Sure.
But it's not a structure and lines show, even though it is. Mm. But one was big enough through the shoulders, buys and tries. I thought that negated some of that structure. Andy was in his. I thought it was in his best shape, or his best shape in terms of Juan's, in terms of leanness and fullness, which he's had a history of. Now, I think he's fixed that in the last 2 years.
Yeah, he
full and lean, whereas like previous years, you'd see him at a show and he's lean, but not full. Then another show he's full but not quite lean as he was the previous show.
He was very confident going into the show as well, and I think that helped. His nerves were really low. He felt, I didn't really directly talk to him, but I could just tell his demeanor was that, he was going in there to win the show, and he felt confident that he would do so, and that helps when you feel like you're the winner before you even get there. What I found amusing was that they had no pose. Usually these Arnold shows are supposed to have a posing round too, right? They didn't score. There was no posing round.
Oh, that's good for that's good to know.
Good for Juan. It might have been great for Rafael because he's a good poser. He might have won that based on the posing round because the audience would have gone crazy, right?
Yeah, well, they went crazy anyway.
Yeah. No, I know, but if they didn't score the round, who cares?
And they yelled exclusively in Portuguese, Dave. They didn't yell in English.
Yeah, no one even knew what they were cheering about exactly. We have to get like a Portuguese translator. Now, Essa Obaid, interestingly enough, beat Akim Williams in prejudging, and then Akim, I guess, came back at night and looked a little tighter, and then beat him.
I guess you have to be there because based on pictures, I would go with Akim, but that's pictures.
Yeah, I think Akim was 10 pounds lighter at the night show.
It's not like thing was peeled either.
No. But think about it. He had a whole day, 24 hours, for Oscar to work on him in the room there. God knows what they did to lose that 10 pounds.
They did distilled water, probably.
God knows what they did there in Brazil. Oh, my God. So, yeah, Akim will be at the Spanish show in 2 weeks, along with, as you're saying, Rafael, which I didn't know that. So that should be a good little battle there. I don't know who else is entering that show. I think our good friend Roman Fritz told me he's jumping into that show, but I probably gave it away. I'm probably not supposed to tell anyone, but Roman, no one cares anyway. Don't worry about it. Only Chris and I care that you're going to be in the show. And I'm glad to see there's a lot of pro shows and opportunities. These people that are competing now are crazy not to all do these shows. They should be in every show. Even Juan should go do the show. Screw it.
No. Keep on out of it. Keep on out of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Rafael and Akim should be able to get to the Olympia anyway with all the points they're accumulating by placing.
I don't think they get it. They both. Rafael beat Akim at the Ohio show.
Right. So he got points there. Right?
No, I don't think he got any points.
Oh, because he was sixth, right?
Yeah, sixth, and I think they only gave top 5 points.
Well, Akim got the points from Indianapolis. What did Rafael get from Arnold Brazil? I'm Arnold Australia.
Arnold Australia, I don't know. They're translating the points into English.
Isn't that funny that he's done like all 3 Arnolds this year?
Who?
Rafael?
No, he just did all he did was the Arnold Ohio in this show.
Oh, he didn't do Australia?
No, he didn't do it.
Oh, why didn't he?
You need a visa.
But that's an easy visa to get.
He had it. He couldn't speak English to speak to the Aussies.
All you do is go on the website. The only problem about Australia is they when you go to the airport in Australia. Well, at least me. I don't know about everyone else, but I know they did it to Aaron and PJ when I went there too. They were like pointing. Like as soon as you go through customs, they like point. There's like a red little box there that you have to stand in, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. And then it's the interrogation. Let the interrogations begin.
Wait, if you're on a supplement company, you're on the list or something?
No, if you look like a bodybuilder, they want to search you. They think you're bringing steroids into their country.
Yeah.
People were, you know who told me about that? Bev Francis, who's from Australia. She's like, don't bring anything to Australia. I said, Bev, I would never. She's like, they're gonna stop you anyway. I said, are.
Don't pull a Stallone. How much GH did Stallone?
Yeah, he had enough GH to last him the rest of his life.
What did he say? It wasn't his. He had like 50,000.
No, he said it was his. He goes, I use it therapeutically. They said it's Chinese GH. It's not. There's no prescription for it. He's like, I'm 65 years old. I need it.
Yeah, I look 40. So there, works.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, why do you need 60 vials of this stuff?
Because I listen to Heavy Muscle Radio, and Dave said when you use the Chinese stuff, you have to take more to make up for that.
Boston Light told me I have to take triple. Yeah, the dosage. Worse than steroids in Brazil. Worse than steroids into Australia. You can't bring fruit. You can't bring any kind of vegetable. They're crazy about any kind of contamination in their country, which is smart, I guess. We can't keep Mexicans out of the border, but they don't. They keep everyone out there in Australia.
Well, they must get there. You'd never be able to go because they'd be afraid that you have like snake viruses in.
Well, I was going to say they don't allow any wildlife into or out of the country, which is kind of silly. I can understand not letting it into the country, but fucking make some money, tax it, all the stuff going out. So all the reptile breeders can't get the Australian stuff. They have some of the best reptiles in the world over there. But interestingly, you will never see a boa constrictor or a ball python in Australia because they don't allow it. Now, we have all their stuff because there's always some lunatic who will smuggle it out. What they do is they smuggle it from Australia to Europe. The Europeans breed it for 3-4 years, and they say, "Oh, we've always had it here. The zoo, we got it from a zoo."
Yeah.
And then they import it from Europe into the U.S. Now the Australian government is so pissed off that they know this is going on that they're trying to get the U.S. government to not allow Australian animals that are coming from Europe into our country. How that's going to help them in any way whatsoever, I have no idea. So I thought that
they want exclusivity, Dave.
Exclusive. Yeah.
You see, the National Enquirer is for sale, by the way.
What?
The National Enquirer is for sale.
I saw. All the AMI magazines are for sale, including Muscle and Fitness, I think.
Joe Weider was might have been the greatest sale in the history of business.
Oh yeah, what do you make? $350 million on that or something?
$350 million
on the magazines. Yeah, I heard Bill Phillips made that when he sold EAS. I don't think he personally made that, but he had partners. But I mean, right?
Are they around? Are they still in business? EAS.
Yeah, they're owned by Abbott Labs, Bioplex. Yep. I don't think they're doing that well, but.
I'm sure they're not doing
Bill
well.
Phillips cashed out on that whole deal. They bought that, and they got Muscle Media 2000 with it, and they're like we don't want a magazine. They threw it in the garbage. Bill's like, what are you guys doing? You guys great? That's how I sell the products, through the magazine. You know, that's what they did back then. Bill would write articles, and people would buy all the products. And they're like, we're a pharmaceutical company. We're not into publishing. So they threw it in the garbage, which was they took Bill Phillips' whole business model that made the thing work.
Throw it out. And they paid for it and didn't use it.
Right. Put it on the shelf.
Yeah, well, because they must have had like our NYU business grad running the business or something. Ridiculous. In other words, just not knowing.
Well, the company that bought Metrics ruined them too. They decided, you know what, Connolly was smart and everything like that, and he sold a lot of product, but you know what? He could have made this product for half the price if he just put cheaper ingredients in it. And so that's what they did. And Connolly said to me, why did I sell this company? I said, Scott, you got paid $100 million. That's why you sold it. I said, who cares? He's like, yeah, but it's my brainchild. I said, yeah, but you know what? Let them fucking do whatever they want with it. You made your money, and you left your mark on the world, and that was it. He's like, I should have kept it. I said, well,
it's called seller's remorse.
Yeah, it was seller's because he really was in love with the product. I mean, he put all his heart and soul into that company and tried to make the highest quality product of his day, which he did. And then they just. He said, I went to a 7-Eleven, I saw my bars. I was like, wow, they got the bars in here. And I looked at the bar and I read the ingredients. And he's like, I spent 20 years developing metamycin, my protein blend, and they were using collagen protein in there. I said, Scott, they probably could made the bar for 20 cents. He's like, yeah, I know, exactly.
Well, it's like somebody who sells like a.
It's like taking Gucci or Louis Vuitton and then cheapening the freaking product up, and making it look like it should be sold in Walmart, Unbelievable, the things people do. So you heard about the show. Obviously, you told me about it. Actually, I was the first person to inform me was you that the show they were having an NPC amateur show. They were giving pro cards away in Nice, France, this past week, and they canceled it at the last minute.
Guy I was helping was headed to the airport and checking his emails, and he sent it to me thinking it was a joke.
Yeah.
And so I would have no idea. I said, yeah, it probably is a joke. I mean,
now the promoter's name, Eric Favre, is very well known in France. I think he works with Lionel Baker. I think he actually had some interaction with Asti, the guy you helped.
Well, he sponsors Morgan. He sponsors Stan. Who I helped those
Stan
two.
DeLongo, yeah, Stanimal.
Yeah. I think that's it. But
he's a well liked guy in France. We'll leave it at that. So he set up this whole expo and he set up this NPC show. Jim Mannion was heading out there as well. Actually, Jim Mannion went to the wine vineyards in Italy first, and he was heading over to the show in France. They were trying to really nurture this French show.
Correct.
And I know Stanimal was there. I know Sean Roden was going to guest pose there, Mr. Olympia. And on Tuesday before the show, this Eric Favre guy was arrested. And according to what my sources inside that I talked to today,
Inside.
very inside sources, they told me that, they figured, well, you know what? Yeah, he got arrested, but he would be out in a day or two, and that would be it, and everything would be fine.
Let me guess.
Well, in France, they can hold you for 48 hours before you can even talk to a lawyer. Unlike the U.S., if you say, give me a lawyer, that's it. They can't question you anymore. You get a lawyer. So he had to wait the 48 hours, and then they found out he wasn't getting out. They weren't letting him out so easy. And so they couldn't pay for pay the balance on the venue, and that was it. The venue people said, well, you forfeit your deposit, and that's the end of it. And they canceled the whole thing because they had people in place who were going to run this thing. I mean, because that was my first thing. My first thought was like, well, all right, the guy got arrested for trafficking steroids or whatever they throw 600 charges at you, and because they're hoping one will stick. That's usually the way it works. They supposedly were investigating this guy since 2017. So the fact that they arrested him on the week of his show seems like it's like they were trying to make a statement almost. They could have waited till after the show, or they could have done it 2 weeks before. So the feds, obviously over there, had something in for this guy. He was a flashy guy. He drove nice cars and stuff like that. So I said, well, why didn't his cronies there? They were running the show with him. I'm sure he had his whole staff there. Why couldn't they run the show? Evidently, you don't pay the money, you don't get the venue. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened. And so they had to cancel the show. From what I understand, I think they're going to refund people's entry fees and NPC. There was no. I asked. I said, "Is there any NPC cards?" No, they don't charge overseas for NPC cards. So, I guess the people's entry fees will be refunded supposedly by the promoter. Sucks. It sucks because it was set up well. It was nice and everything. Then of course Rafael Santoa, we talked about him earlier. His whole crew try to make it they try to throw blame on this whole thing on the fact that that the IFBB Pro League doesn't belong to what is it called? The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA.
Oh my gosh!
Now,
talking about that, dude.
One doesn't have anything to do with the other. First of all, the IFBB doesn't belong to WADA, so WADA has no right to drug test them.
Can I make a public service announcement that the people in the other professional bodybuilding federation are using anabolic steroids?
Exactly.
I mean, if Rafael thinks that they're not, then
he needs his head examined. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's not live in the make believe.
They're being drug tested. That's what they're being drug tested. But the truth is that the NPC and IFBB is a private organization. They're not trying to get Olympic recognition.
Well, let's not even talk about that. Does you think that the people who passed your test eat chicken breasts and baked potatoes in their prep, and that's it?
Of course, no. We know that's bullshit. But I'm just saying there was no involvement.
Stop with the nonsense.
There was no involvement of WADA in this whole cancellation of the show. It was all based on the fact that this guy, and let's face it, when Jim Mannion or anyone else takes a sanction from someone to run a show, they don't do background searches on these people. They're like, look, do you have the money and the setup and the venue and the ability to hold a show of this caliber? And that's what they research. And if they can, then they give them the ability to do it. I mean, there's a lot of people that do criminal things behind the scenes, and no one knows. I mean, there's no way that the IFBB NPC could know if this guy
it'd be like an electrician getting arrested for molesting girls. Like I'd be responsible for.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's an independent contractor, and I hire him. Right? I mean,
it's true. So this was unfortunate, obviously, because the only people who really paid the price were the athletes, because they all were dieted down and trying to do the show. But hopefully, this will get cleared up, and maybe next year they'll be able to hold this show after all. Because I know Stanimal was involved with that, right? Stan was involved with organizing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was involved to some degree. I mean, he's I know, he's got some type of relationship with the promoter, and
well, he was over there. I know he was.
Morgan does as well. Has a strong relationship with him. And a lot of other bodybuilders do as well in terms of being sponsored, being supported.
No,
So,
maybe he was sponsoring them with illegal money, but that doesn't. The bodybuilders don't know that.
I mean, that's not there. I mean, just as you said, the NPC doesn't vet who shows up.
Right.
With I want to put on a show and I'm capable of doing it. It's not the bodybuilder's job to say, show me your tax returns
Right.
for the last 5
We know
years.
plenty of promoters out there who are criminals on their own right. I mean, and it is what it is. I mean, what the
Michael Avenatti hasn't paid taxes.
Exactly. Everyone's a criminal at one point in their life.
Michael Avenatti was asking for Trump's tax returns. Talk about irony.
This is the Stormy Daniels lawyer, right?
Yes.
And you don't even like Trump, and you're defending Trump in this.
Trump's. I don't like Trump at all, but it doesn't mean. I mean, there's some ideas that he has that are good ideas.
Right, but I'm saying he pays taxes. We know that, and it's funny that the person
we don't know that. That was
that's true.
We're not quite sure, but he's not at this point legally obligated as a president to show his.
I'm sure the IRS would be down his throat if he wasn't paying taxes. The point is that the guy, Stormy Daniels' lawyer, who was asking Trump for his tax return,
hasn't paid him in 10 years.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I think he hasn't even filed Dave and 5. They found out he hasn't even filed a tax
People are so crazy, right? I mean, this is a lawyer. He knows that you can't get away with this crap. I mean, I'd love to know what his excuse was. Slipped my mind for 10 years.
Yeah, he was intoxicated with his own arrogance.
People are crazy, right?
I told you about the bodybuilder. I won't say his name. He was 20, Dave, and because it's an embarrassment for him, and he got paid like $1,000 to guest pose, and he got at the end of the year. What do you get at the end of the year? 1099, W9. What do you get from the promoter?
1099.
1099. That is sent to the athlete that says, thank you. I paid you $1,000 to guest pose. This is years ago. Had to be 25 years ago. And then, he takes that 1099 and he sends it off to the IRS as well and says, I employed John Smith to guest pose me for $1,000. So the bodybuilder gets it and he looks at it as he's 20 years old, just turned 20. Like, oh, confirmation. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Almost like a receipt. And then I think 5 or 7 years later, he had a tax bill. I think it was like $3,800 for that 1,000.
Yeah, well, he probably didn't tell you that he probably did that with 10 guest posings that he had that he didn't.
Well, I don't know that one alone with the
interest.
Yeah, with the interest and the penalties, I think it had blown up to $3,800.
Look, when I worked for MD, I'm not going to mention any names, but they were calling there all the time. Saying, do you know where this person or that person is? And they haven't paid taxes for 5 years. I'm like, and these are people that like Bleckman had under contract, and he was paying them and sending, once again, 1099s to the government. And
yeah, they're not employees.
Yeah. And these people were just cashing the checks and not paying any taxes on it.
Yeah.
Crazy. Don't stiff the government.
No, move to where I am. Move to Puerto Rico, and I think there's
that's the U.S., right? Isn't that a U.S. territory? You still got to pay U.S.
territory, yeah, but there's a lot of tax advantages to living here.
Oh, there is.
Oh gosh,
who knew?
Insane.
Who knew? Did I go over with you let's go back to the show first because I'm going to be distracted. We got distracted here for a second. So obviously we talked about Akim Williams in third place. Let's talk about Essa Obaid in fourth place. Now we haven't seen him. He hasn't been consistently competing. He was a guy who was winning shows and going to the Olympia, for a while. What happened to Essa Obaid? Do you have any inside scoop on him?
No, I mean Is he
just getting older?
No, but he's gone through the gambit of prep coaches. I mean, Kuwaiti's prepped him for a while.
Mm-hmm. He was over there at Oxygen?
Yeah, I mean, Neil Hill prepped him for a while.
I didn't know that.
I mean,
George prepped him a few times.
George prepped him. So what's important there is that when a bodybuilder jumps around, their look jumps around too because they don't have a plan, and it seems like when you move around from person to person, you're just reaching at grasping at straws, so to speak. You know, you're looking for the perfect formula, and then if you don't hit it with, you know, this guy, that guy, you know, you jump and you go to the next one, and it's you know, it's not a good formula, actually.
Right. Now, Eddie Bracamontes looked really good. I saw the pictures.
He looked tremendous. I thought he could have placed higher for sure. I mean, not a lot higher.
Well, 5th place was good for him.
Yeah, but I mean, he could have been higher. He could have taken out any of the. I mean, he's in better condition than both of.
Issa, definitely.
Issa for sure, and he's in much better condition than
Akim. Yeah, especially for the prejudging.
He's beaten Akim before.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's incapable of beating Akim. So I don't know if the momentum of, you know, Akim's indie placing.
I'm sure that had something to do with
the impact on.
Yeah, I think it had something to do with it.
You know what I mean? I mean, it may have. But
so what's is he going to continue competing?
He's going to do the Spain thing as well.
All right. Well, that's smart. I think he'll do well there.
Yeah. No, I think he'll do well too there. You know, it'd be interesting, the type of physique. You know, you're only as good as your competition, but you're only as good as the judging panel too. In other words, you know, I'm not going to. Let's just say there was a different judging panel in Brazil. They may have gone with the shape and flow of Rafael, and that's, you know, seasoned quote IFBB judges, as opposed to who was judging there.
Well, Weinberger was the head judge, so
yeah, you know. So I mean, my gut was that he probably struggled with who to go with, and deferred to Mass as well, which is,
well, you know, the head judge lines him up, but the judges on the judging panel judge. Let's face it, Weinberger will break a tie, obviously, if there's a tie, but it's the other judges that are really dictating, you know, who's going to win the show. So obviously Steve had him in the top 5, or he wouldn't have been in the top 5 call out, and then, you know, the judges basically had to pick, you know, who was going to go where. It was pretty.
I guess what I'm getting at is when they go, this same group goes over to, was it Spain?
Yeah.
And you minus out Steve as the head judge.
If he's not going to be there, I don't know who's going to be there yet.
I mean, anything can happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, sometimes I mean that in a negative way. You know, anything can happen. It's like, you're kidding. You know, the first call out didn't include, you're kidding, the first call out did include this person. So,
it'll be interesting to see what happens. That's for sure.
Meaning somebody with, I mean, Eddie may move up. Well, he may move down.
It's possible. We'll see. There'll probably be better competition there. Why anyone wouldn't? Well, I guess the Arnold people made it a small show because this was the first year back again, and I think, you know, because they usually have other divisions. It was only men's open there.
Yeah.
So
it's funny, they got a 212 show in 2 weeks down in 2 or 3 weeks down in Brazil.
Yeah, that's because, you know, Tamer took over, and now Tamer is. By the way, Tamer, who is now the producer, I guess, of the backstage expediter producer of the Olympia. So I want to congratulate him on that
movie. You got a producer, associate producer. So Dan is the what, promoter?
Yeah, Dan's the I don't know, the vice president of Olympia or something like that. He's running the whole operation there. And Dan's actually going to come. Hopefully, I don't know if it's going to be next week or the week after. He's going to come on the TV show, and we're going to talk to him when he gets back. He's actually in Vegas now, scouting out, you know, everything that's going on there. He's going to give us the full rundown of his new staff there that they got going on. I think, look, I like Tamer. I know Tamer since he's a young kid. You know, I actually did his, you know, helped him and taught him how to, you know, everything he knew about, you know, diet and stuff like that. I did a seminar in what was it, in Seattle in the 90s. And the guy who brought me in there took me to see this kid who was running the Gold's Gym with his wife. And it was Tamer and his wife. And I didn't know him from a hole in the wall. We hit it off. I spent 3 hours with them. We went out to eat. And then, you know, over the years, obviously he competed. You know, I always saw him at shows. I interviewed him. And then he took over and started working with John Lindsay. And then him and his brother bought John Lindsay's business over there in California, all the muscle contests, and now they're expanding, you know, worldwide. They're everywhere, and they're running Brazil over there. They're doing several shows, and now because of the great job he's doing, Dan decided to bring him on as the producer of the show. So I think it's a great move. I'll tell you one thing about Tamer: love him or hate him, and I love the kid, but some people, you know, The guy doesn't. No one outworks him. You think I work hard? This guy is like unbelievable. They're running like 40 shows a year. I don't know how the hell they're doing it.
Well, hard work and what's that funny saying? Hard work and success.
All work and no play makes the Jack a dull boy. No.
Oh.
No, he's just relentless, and you got to be that way if you want to succeed. You got to be relentless. I saw that they had the Parisos had their annual Europa Orlando show down in Orlando. I'm like 3 hours now. If I was 2 hours, I probably would have driven down there with the kids just to go to Disney and stuff like that, and probably would have stopped in and said hello. But it's 3 hours with the kids in the car. Ugh, my son could drive us crazy. Couldn't do it. They had a men's physique pro show won by Giovanni Pola. Second place, Jeff Gabriel. And in that third position came in third. What was it, a tie? Oh, no, here it is. Scott Dennis. So congratulations. Pro figure. The winner was Ashley Soto. Second place, Laurelie Martineau. And in third place, Ashley Roberson. So congratulations. Busy weekend. We would have had that France show too, but of course that was canceled. And then we had a Salt Lake City showdown as well, where George Brown won the men's physique. So he'll be going back to the Olympia, more than likely. Aria Safi, second place. And in third place, Dean Balbus. So that was a hard-fought battle. And we had a pro bikini down there. Jasmine Fernandez won that. So that's 3 pro shows in the same day. How do you like that? How do you like those apples?
No, it's crazy. Right?
I love it.
We're just getting busy coming up.
Yeah, we're in the heart of the contest season. This is great. We got Spain coming up in 2 weeks. What else do we got coming up? We got New York Pro in a few weeks, right?
We got New York Pro in 5 weeks. I told you Eduardo was making a comeback there.
Yeah, talk to me about that. Eduardo Correa. We haven't heard about him. Well, where has he disappeared to? A lot of people have asked me, why has he stopped competing? And tell us the whole story.
Well, he had the... he had the tricep injury, and goes way back to, people don't know, 2013.
He tore his tricep off the attachment.
His tricep. They gave him an award at the 2013 Olympia. I think they pre-gave it away. I think they decided on. I think they
before he hurt himself.
Well, he was in good condition, but they gave him like most conditioned. Flex Magazine conditioned athlete of the, the entire weekend award.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But he had, I think. 2013, 9 days out, he tore his tricep off his bone, and he didn't train for 9 days going into the show, and he ended up in fifth place. Mm-hmm. So he had, then I think so he's had tricep issues since, where it's come undone, tore it worse.
So the repair was not successful in the sense that it retore.
Yeah. So he didn't go see Dr. Blau. And,
Dr. Blau doesn't do tricep repairs.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, he doesn't have any gyno. So he did see Dr. Blau. It's perfect in the pectorals. It's just the triceps.
Oh.
So he just had bad luck with trying to get this tricep repaired. Right. So, I hadn't heard from him for a long period of time, and I just figured, okay, he's retired. I did run into him when Sergio won the New York Pro, and, he was smaller, and then, he talked about his tricep, and he said, I want to give it another shot. I just got to, figure out how to heal this tricep. And I don't know all the details. You can get him on the show and try to find out, how he did get it healed. And then maybe a year ago, 11 months ago, he contacted me, and he said he seems to think that he's got it under control, that the tricep is repaired this time, and that he was going to start training again, that he hadn't been training and been eating like 2 meals or 3 meals a day and just letting the thing really, really heal. And he started training, and he was just like teensy. Which is smaller than tiny.
Well, you know what? You got to remember, Chris, when you tear something, I can tell you from experience, when you tear a muscle, it's scary enough. When you come back and then it re-tears, you're terrified now, because now you're thinking anything I do is going to cause this thing to re-tear. So he probably was very gun-shy
Yeah, he was.
To getting
And-
back into training again because he
Oh,
probably
God.
figured it was going to pop again.
I don't want to jinx it because he's 5 weeks out, and I said it's going to take you a year. It's going to take you. How long is it going to take you to get back? 10 months, and it's been I think 10 months.
Okay.
And he's only 5 weeks out from the New York Pro, and
He looks great from the pictures you sent me.
Yeah, I sent you pictures today, and I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully the tricep stays attached, and
Yeah.
everything's. Because when you get, the problem is when you diet down and everything, right? Everything is vulnerable, no matter, right?
Can Eduardo Correa win the Olympia in the 212 division? It seems now with the crown vacated, Jose Raymond gone. I mean, there's not that many guys left,
Well, you saw the pictures today. He's got a level of muscularity. I mean, he's back to his. To me, he looks as good as he's ever looked.
Yeah, he looks really good.
So he has the shocking thing is that the density came back because, like I said, it's going to take 10 months. You're at you're 8 weeks in. It's like you have no density. You got some volume back. You're 3 months in. You got some density. Just like when is
hyper responder.
Yeah. Then you get him on the Sylvester Stallone Chinese stuff, and things take off.
Yeah.
No, but he looks good. So he's 5 weeks out, and I'm hoping you'll go to New York.
You never know. You never know what could happen. I won't be at the Olympia. Everyone keeps asking me at the Olympia. I said, I'm not going to be at the Olympia. My daughter is being born like the same
You're
day.
not going to be at the Olympia?
No, I can't go.
I went at the Arnold. My son was born like 10 minutes later.
Yeah. The thing that sucks is it was going to be the first Olympia that Dan Solomon's running, and he's going to give me like complete access to the show, and I can't even go. But you'll be there. I'll send you and Sid and
I was doing the send Jose Raymond. We'll do the
that's not a bad idea. Yeah, maybe Jose will cover it. That's right. Now that he's
I'll do it with him.
I'm gonna tell he's got to diet down for the show though. I don't want him coming in like a fat slob. He's got to represent RX Muscle. He's got to be ripped. So he's got to diet for the Olympia.
No, we had a stunt.
I'm just kidding.
I was asking Rafael to hit a front lat spread and Luke to hit a most muscular, and my wife was 3 days to giving birth.
Yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere. I got to choose my. I went to the.
Wait a minute. So let's clarify: is the birth on the exact day?
No, it's like a week or two. But that first 2 weeks is horrendous. It's like you can't.
No.
I would never leave. First of all, my wife runs all my businesses, so it's not just like she can just kind of hang out and just chill out. Like she goes back to work the day after she gives birth. She's Amanda is like a trooper. She's very tough, like that. So I don't need to go. I don't want to go. I want to be there, for the first week or two, especially. And I went to the Arnold this year. It's cool. Hopefully this will be our last child. If I had another one, I wouldn't be terribly upset. But I'm old, just like you're old. We got to stop having kids. We're going to be like 90 by the time our kids grow up, go to college.
I'm just going through exactly this. I'm starting all over again.
I know. You're older than me, too.
I did diapers today. I told you, Dave. I said, what did I tell you? I said, no one uses more paper towels than me. I go through tons of paper towels in a day, like a whole entire roll.
I do too, but when you change diapers, you go through a lot of baby wipes.
I go through tons of wipes. I set up like 8 wipes out on the bed next to the changing pad before I even opened up the diaper.
See, I think my wife was Amanda was taken aback by the fact that I have no problem cleaning diapers, but I've been cleaning. I have the little dogs, the little Malteses. They poop on pee-pee pads and poo-poo pads.
No, they don't. They always miss. Every time I see it at your house, they miss.
Yeah, they miss a lot too.
Next to the pads, and they poop next to the pads.
Right, so I'm cleaning up poop and pee, and I clean litter boxes from cats, and I have like 400 snakes. So I'm an expert in cleaning up crap, So that doesn't bother me at all. She, most guys are not into that. Like, I don't mind cleaning a diaper. It's nothing.
Neither do I.
I could do diapers all day long. When I see these shows with the kids, with like the women that have like 8 kids, 8 octuplets and sextuplets, I'm like, that's a lot of shit. I don't know if I'd want to do that, but I don't know how those people make it. 7 kids at the same time or something like that. 6 kids. It's like, this is nuts, you know?
The diaper bills, food bills, everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, at that point, you get sponsored by it. If I had that many kids, if like something happened and my wife had like, 5 kids was coming, I would be I wouldn't care what my wife said. I'd have the reality TV. I'd have the reality TV people in my house nonstop. I'm like, you guys want to film? You guys want to get ratings? Come to my house. I'll be the patsy. I would be the guy getting screamed at all the time, but you'd have the greatest ratings of all time,
Well, they'd find out you're not associated with WADA. And they'd probably like make you lose your contract.
Yeah,
be
exactly.
A rivalry.
Right.
Who's over there in charge in England? Was your friend and not your friend? Rafael.
Yeah. Exactly.
Rafael Cento would find out that you're not associated with WADA and pull the plug on your Pampers.
Exactly. So next weekend, though, is we're having there's a bunch of events. There's the IFBB NPC City Limits Championships.
Next week. There's a show in Lebanon next week. I forgot that. There's a pro show in Lebanon.
Is that the George Profaro pro show?
I don't think it. No, is he? I don't think it's his show.
I don't know. No, there's a show in Texas, the City Limits.
In China. I think the George Farah Pro Show is in India.
No, maybe. I don't know. There's the Jack Titoni's St. Louis Pro Show is taking place in next week as well. They have a women's bikini figure and physique.
212, because we talked about Korea. They got a 212 show in Lebanon. Then they got a 212 show the following weekend in Brazil, pro shows. And no Arnold 212 Pro Show.
No.
Anywhere.
I know. I don't know why they got rid of it. I'll have to, I asked Bob Lorimer. He told me that there was no interest, so I don't know. They have a show in Tokyo, Japan, also next weekend, Chris.
What, 212?
No, it's IFBB Professional League and NPC Japan New Generation Classic. I don't know what that is. I guess I don't see any details.
Division?
I'm trying to find out details right here. Hold on. I think it's Hidetada Yamagishi's involved with this show.
Of course he is.
It's the Hidetada Yamagishi Iris Kyle Japan Classic. No, maybe that's a different day. 4 pro cards. No, it's a different day. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm on the website, but it's confusing because I don't speak Japanese.
We'll get a Brazilian to translate for you.
They are having a show that weekend, so that's all I care about. And then the other shows are going to be the week after, obviously. There's a show in Iraq in 2 weeks.
You're kidding me.
International Championships Iraq Regional. Yeah. Can you
is
believe
it a pro show?
So I don't think it's a pro show. I think it's a pro qualifier, though. Sean Ray's going to be there doing a seminar. Ruli Winkler will be guest posing. I wonder if Hadi Shupin can get into Iraq. He's from Iran. I know they don't like each other.
He's supposed to. No, I don't think he'd be going to Iraq. They fought for 10 years when we were on the Iranian side. Ironically, can you imagine that?
I know, enough crazy.
Wait a minute. At that time, we were on the. I can't even remember.
Yeah, you're right. There was a 212 show though. Tamer's running.
Nope, I heard Hadi is going to Brazil.
Oh, he's going to Brazil. That'll be a great showdown. Who do you got in that show?
I have Ricardo Correa. Not to be confused with Eduardo Correa.
Yeah, not Eduardo Correa. So now you got both Correas going.
Both Portuguese, by the way.
Yeah. It's crazy. So that'll be exciting.
I said I wouldn't be afraid one bit of Hadi. I know that sounds ridiculous.
And we get the Big Man Weekend show. That's in Spain. $25,000 up for
that's the one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the
the open one.
Yeah. And then we got the Kuwait Classic.
That's the one they're gonna look into the tax returns of the promoter.
Yeah, for the Kuwait Classic.
No, for the Spain, because that's in Rafael's backyard.
Who's running the Kuwait Classic? Is that
gotta be? I guess so, but I don't know.
Oxygen. It says Oxygen.
No, is it a pro show?
Pro men's physique, pro classic physique.
Pro classic, pro men's.
Yeah.
It's funny that they don't throw on. They got Askanani's a good name, big name, 12 guy. I'm surprised they don't have a 212 show just to have a 212 show.
Same weekend, they also got the Amateur Olympia Korea in South Korea.
This is insane. Is it insane how many shows there are, Dave?
Yeah, well, you know what? They're expanding all over the globe now, so it's good.
It's like when Starbucks took off and opened up franchises everywhere.
Well, Rafael blew that. When they got to that
I know.
whole separation, now Jim Annion's all, he's spreading the NPC IFBB, pro league everywhere, and which is great. Do you know how hard it was for these people in other countries to get a pro card? It was impossible. Rafael had it locked down, like Wayne D'Amelia had it all locked down.
No, Dave. You know what? The problem with the previous, people criticize that there's too many pro cards, and there may be. And and I'm of that thought as well, that there can be too many pro cards. But the flip side of that is, there was years, and way back when Ben and Joe had their foot on the brakes. Even you had to win the USA overall to become a pro.
Right.
Well,
because there was one division.
My point is this. A lot of people who are tremendous bodybuilders who were second, they were denied the ability to, with there being so few pro qualifiers and so hard to get a pro card, there were a lot of bodybuilders who never probably reached their potential because they said, I'm giving up.
Yeah, well, it was. Think about it. It was very political too. Winning the world championships was not easy. And so you could win your country. In other words, if you in the United States and you win the USA or the Nationals, you get a pro card. If you're in Germany or you're in India and you win the Mr. India, you didn't get a pro card. You had to go to the World Championships. I don't know why. Why wouldn't they have a pro qualifier in their country? It's the whole country. If you're the best in the country, you should get a pro card, right?
Well, I know people who have helped win their country shows and did not get a pro card.
No, it happened all the time. They never gave out pro cards. Now, finally, they're having these open events where you can go there. And you don't even have to be from the country. In other words, if they have them, the Ireland show, they gave out pro cards. You don't have to be from Ireland to go there and win. It's great. It's a great idea.
I agree with you. I agree.
It's phenomenal. It's stupid that these countries didn't have their own championships. I want to know who the Mr. Japan is, and I want to know who the Mr. Germany is, and the Mr. this and the Mr. that. Why should these guys have pro status for winning the country? Just because their country's smaller than our country, they can't give a pro card? It's ridiculous. These Middle Eastern countries too. If you win the Mr. Iraq, you should have a pro card. If you win the Mr. Iran, you should have a pro card. You beat everyone in the country.
Someone from Canada may go to Iraq and win their pro card.
You never know. They may never make it back either. Who knows?
God, Ron Partlow would have been a pro a long time ago. It took him like 8 times to.
People, you know what people used to tell me? They're like, "Why don't you go to Israel and compete?" I'm like, "What do you mean go to Israel?" They're like, "Well, your mom was Jewish, so if you're Jewish,
idea. Why didn't you?
If you're Jewish,
if your mother's Jewish, you're always Jewish.
Yeah, you're Jewish. So they said go to Israel because you have citizenship there.
I'm surprised you didn't take people up on that.
Because you know what? I would have gone and won the Mr. Israel, and you know what? They still wouldn't give me a pro card.
No, I think you wanted because
then I'd be under Rafael's auspices. I would have to apply to ask Rafael for the pro card. I'd be like, do the World Championships. You won the Mr. Israel. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, come on. Can you imagine if I would have got Dave Palumbo wins the Mr. Israel?
Yeah.
Dave Palumbo, the Jewish Italian name.
People would have asked for your mother's birth.
I hadn't. I could have provided documents, unlike some other people. I would have had my birth certificate.
No, that's what I said. They would ask you.
Sheila Polanski. Come on. I had my Jewish roots. I could have stayed at Dr. Blau's house. He has a house in Tel Aviv there.
Of course he does with all those kind of operations.
Yeah, well,
imagine if he could
Israel.
do the price ups too, like for Korea. Then he could.
From what I understand, Tel Aviv is like the hottest city in the world.
Yeah, it is. It is very popular.
I wish I would have gone there when I had the chance because he was always inviting me.
It's a tech hub now.
Yeah, well, they have more billionaires there than in any other country. It's true.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because of all the tech there. That's where all the smart people there, all the best business people there. And yeah, I had the opportunity to go there. Dr. Blau always had an open invitation, like a dummy. I didn't go there. I was like, I got to go to a bodybuilding show this weekend.
Yeah, now you married.
Tel Aviv, you stay on the beach. I got a house right in the city there. It's 4 a.m. People go out and eat and drink, and no one goes to sleep there. I'm like, oh man,
that sounds like you when you were living in Long Island.
Yeah, that would have been right up my alley. Never went. Now I got to wait till I'm like 80 to go there, probably. But by the time my kids get old enough, so they can leave them.
No, you'll find out Amanda's pregnant again at 65. First, you ready to do the?
God help me.
You're not going to believe this. I said, don't tell me Amanda's pregnant.
Yeah. Chris guessed it right off the bat. I didn't even have to even give him a hint. And you guessed
No, you
it.
just said you never guess this, and I said, well, yeah, but your wife's pregnant. You said, how'd you guess? I said, just random guess.
You knew. So there's a new clothing company that they made it's called Lift Ugly. So it's how when you lift you make ugly faces. You make these like. So that's the company. LiftUgly.com is the website, and they have a bunch of cool logos, and they made a logo, a Dave Palumbo Lift Ugly logo. So I'm helping. It's a friend of mine owns the company. I'm helping him, with the sales and everything like that. And basically, the logo is awesome. I put it up on my Instagram. People went crazy. They're like, "Where can I get this?" So
Yeah, sorry, it was very good.
yeah. So I actually just got. I'm getting. I have a few shirts on the way. He had sent me a couple shirts. They're kind of just a generic Lift Ugly. The guy looks. My son thinks it's the Incredible Hulk. It's the art is amazing. And I wore those shirts around for a couple of videos I did, and everyone was like, "Where'd you get those?" And then the Dave Palumbo logo just debuted. So a lot of people have been telling me they bought the Dave Palumbo Lift Ugly logo. So it's pretty cool. It's an intense shirt. It's the kind of shirt you can go to the gym and people are like, "Man, that guy's pretty tough. That's a pretty cool shirt." So if you want to pick up any Dave Palumbo, or there's actually a Lee Priest, and there's also an Akim Williams, also a caricature there as well. If you go to liftugly.com, you can see it. You can get it on a mug, you can get it on a sticker, you can get a T-shirt, tank top. They got everything. So men's, women's. I even got my son Logan in one for his. I bought him a kid's T-shirt. We'll see what it looks when it gets there. All right. What else did I want to talk about? Did I talk about the fact that scientists solved the mystery of why zebras have stripes? Did we talk about this? I can't remember when I bring up stories or not.
No, I did see a zoo overseas that painted a horse to make it look like a zebra. Did you see that? You can Google it, Dave.
Yeah, they didn't. They do experiments, but do you know why that they found out that happens? Why the zebras have stripes? Why they evolved that way?
No.
Take a guess. Come on, you're a smart guy. Let's see if you can figure it out.
Probably so that they would stay segregated from the horses.
No,
I don't know.
It's very interesting because they just cracked this. They're like, why in Africa?
Has to do with sex, right?
No, why in Africa would zebras evolve the way they did? Because they're essentially horses, right? That have stripes on them. Now, I told you I almost bought a zebra, right? I was going to get zebras, pet zebras, but they're not. They're nowhere near as domesticated as horses. They're wild. They can kick and they can bite. So I didn't get any. I didn't want to endanger my children, but they are really cool looking. If I had to get an animal, that would definitely be something I would want. If they had mini zebras, I'd probably get them. So they did an experiment. They said, what's going on in Australia that would not be as severe as what's going on where horses are found, which is in North America. I think they have wild horses. And they said the bugs, a lot of bugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they did an experiment, and they found that the flies, the horse flies, can't land on zebras because the stripes confuse them. It fucks up their radar or their sonar, whatever they use to navigate. And they did an experiment. They took a horse and they actually painted it, like you said, and they found the same thing happened. That the bugs couldn't land on it.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah,
it's adaptive because if the bugs can't land on the zebras, they can't bite the zebras, and they can't give them these parasites that would kill a horse if it lived in Africa, and that's how they evolved. So the horses that had the most striping on them seemed to survive the most in over millions of years. Obviously,
my first guess actually was camouflage, but I'm thinking,
from what, right?
For what? Camouflage from what? You would think black and white that they would be, easier to be seen, like in a safari type setting, than just like say brown like a horse or black like a horse. But
it's really it's the horse flies that carry a lot of the diseases, the African diseases that are there, and these stripes prevent them from being bitten, which is great. Now, because I'm always getting bitten by stripes. I'm always getting bitten by flies. I'm like a fly fucking attractant no matter where I go. My son is too. Now I'm thinking about painting some stripes on my legs and my arms when I go outside and water the trees and stuff like that. So the flies will stay away from me. People are like, what's wrong with him? Actually, I should just get tattooed like Flex Wheeler has on his arms, right? He's got all the striped tattoos. I wonder if the flies bother him when he goes outside. But yeah, I wonder if tattoos screw up the navigation of bugs, right? Because it's like they don't know the way to go.
No, they can find sweat, carbon dioxide rather. Carbon dioxide. I'm getting my apartments confused. Carbon dioxide with carbon monoxide.
Oh, so listen to this. This is interesting. I was wrong in the experiment. They didn't paint the horses. They put zebra coats on the horses. So the actual horse was covered. It looked like a jacket on the coat on the horse, and it was a zebra jacket because they're saying that painting the horse, okay, is unethical.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not healthy for them. I don't know why it would matter, but but the dressed up horses, the bugs left them alone too. So that's great. So maybe I'll just buy a zebra jacket and wear that then. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wear a zebra jacket. I'm going to go outside. And everyone's going to say, what's this fucking guy wearing a zebra jacket for outside watering the lawn? Bugs, leave him alone. There you go. Solve my problem with the bugs. I didn't even see. I should have read the end of the article. I didn't even read to the end. That's it. You want the bugs to leave you alone? You got to buy. I got to find now. The great thing about the internet now is I'm just going to go on Amazon. I'm going to put in zebra jacket. I'm sure they have one for sale. I'll get an extra large, 2 extra large, and I'll just wear that when I go outside. Prevent me from getting skin cancer too. You should get one.
Oh, I was covered head to toe today, the last 3 days, and when I was at the beach with
you should go to the beach with a zebra jacket on. Everyone will be making fun of you, but they got the horse flies on the beach, and people, they won't be bothering you. You'll be protected from skin cancer and the fucking diseases of Puerto Rico.
My mother used to take me to a beach so infested with horse flies when I was little. They bite hard.
Yeah, oh no, they do. They hurt. They don't just like give you a mosquito bite. They leave like fang marks on you.
Yeah, no. She used to take us to this beach because it was free.
Yeah.
And if you 1 mile up the road, it was like $5 to park. So we'd go to the free beach and get eaten alive by horses.
Chris, zebra jacket. Let me just hit you with a couple words. Zebra jacket. Solve all your problems. All right, here's my quote of the week.
Yes.
Fear only exists when you do not understand that you have the power to project thought and that the universe will certainly respond. You want me to read it again?
Yeah.
Okay. Fear only exists when you do not understand that you have the power to project thought and that thought and that let me read it again. I'm acting like my dad. I'm like interpreting. Fear only exists when you do not understand that you have the power to project thought and that the universe will certainly respond. So, your thoughts create your reality. When you know that, that's a comforting thought. When you don't know that, I think that's where people live in fear because they think that they can't control their lives and that they're doomed for everything bad to happen to them. And of course, when you think about that, you're doomed for everything bad to happen to you. Everything bad happens to you.
Yeah, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep. So, and the reason that I keep bringing up quotes like this is because I think that how people think really affects the outcome of their life, and it's tough because you get bad news all the time. I can't even imagine what it felt like when they told you had cancer and stuff like that. I mean, the negativity that probably went through your mind at first was crazy, and you have to break out of that.
Yeah.
And it's tough, Look, I have had bad news delivered to me on many occasions, and it's hard to try to turn it around and like say, okay, where's the good in this? How can I focus on the good things in my life and forget what I've just been told or what's going to happen or what I think might happen? And things have the way of fixing themselves when you have the right mindset. So guys, if you're having a rough day, you're having a rough week, a rough year, don't focus on that. Focus on what is going well in your life. And if there is nothing, then focus on what you would like to happen. Don't focus on what's not going right for you, or what you perceive as not going right for you, because that's just going to make it worse. And when you realize that you have that power and that you have the ability to change the outcome of your life, then you don't live in fear anymore. You're not afraid. There is no fear, because you can control the outcome of what's going on. The problem is that it doesn't happen instantaneously, I think, Chris, and people just lose faith that it's going to happen. You can't put a time frame. Okay, I want to do this or I want to do that. Well, the universe will tell you when it's time. Just keep those positive thoughts. Keep the thoughts on what you want, not on what you don't want. And on that note, and on that great quote of the week, we're out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
Good night, everyone.